I also find it very brazen what the politicians are doing here. And they act as if they've relieved us drivers. That's just making fools of us, and it's outrageous. The state just needs to make some cuts itself and reduce its own expenses for once.
And on top of that, they treat us like fools. That just completes this whole thing in a disastrous way. Honestly,
a rocket that hits Europe like a bomb. We will pay the price for the Middle East. You can already feel it at the gas station. However, I can tell you that here in Germany, it's not just fear and panic spreading, but we're on the verge of an uprising here in Germany. We've already seen that today on several shows, including at Axel Springer, where they were at each other's throats. Alternative for Germany members were invited, and people agreed with them that they could improve the country. But this clip comes before that. And I'll say this in advance. Without Russian oil, we haven't made ourselves independent. We've actually made ourselves extremely vulnerable now, especially with liquefied natural gas also falling away, and it's going to get cold in the coming days.
Ulrich von Zorns from the Alternative for Germany is demanding this. As Bild's political editor, what's your view?
I have to agree with him on that.
The maximum geopolitical problems, they're here. The phase out of fossil fuels here in Europe has now made sure of that. That the gravestone is only temporary now. Maximum debt that we can no longer pay back here in Germany, tax increases that will hit us in the near future, those things have also come into play. Family insurance will be abolished, the tax saving model for families will be abolished. This government has gambled everything away and driven this country into the ground, and more people now agree on that. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. If I may ask you for just one thing, YouTube doesn't want me to broadcast the truth to you. Feel free to leave me a like and a subscription so we can get this channel back to its old view numbers. And I want to thank you in advance for supporting this channel. Thank you very much.
I have to say it very clearly. I also find it very bold what the politicians are doing here. The federal government is suggesting that they are somehow relieving us as citizens with this measure and then raising the prices again in the same day.
It's not only highly unlikely that the prices will go down again, but rather that they will go up. Even the Austrians have noticed that now. You say these measures haven't achieved anything at all. You can't stop fuel prices like this. And the Green Deal, you all know it, is now really on the line because people are realizing, oh, we can't push it forward anymore. You noticed it, yes, with the nuclear power subsidies. By the way, Mercosur is done as of today. And yes, now we're getting things from low-cost countries where, believe it or not, as of today, a liter of gasoline costs just €1. Goods and products are being sent to us. I don't think I need to explain to you what that means for our industry here. We're finished if we don't stop all of this now, and just because we're fooling ourselves, especially when it comes to the voters. By the way, I would have been pleased if WELT had published this interview 5 days ago, but they didn't want to, because they didn't want to jeopardize the Christian Democratic Union's election.
That's it. We drivers are paying more, and by the way, we're also paying more taxes because the state is now taking a big cut through the higher prices, and they act as if they've given us drivers some relief, but that's just an insult to our intelligence and an outrage.
Do you remember those conversations about resilience? We need to become more resilient, but one thing is made very clear by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. These conflicts are bringing us to our knees everywhere here. While people are still desperately making sure that Ukraine gets all of its money, you're the one out there paying the bill. There's no money left for you at all. And as for being resilient, well, I really have to say, well, everything is Germany, but it's definitely not resilient against these crises. Because our gas stations are now the most expensive in the world, or among the most expensive in the world.
The government just has to make some cuts itself and reduce its own expenses for once.
Or, for example, open the pipelines. Talk to Russia so that we can get Russian gas again, so that we, yes, I really have to say it, also get oil and gas from the Russians again. Then this country wouldn't have to save so much or punish itself like this. But since they don't want that, now everything has to go through so-called pipelines. Yes, through pipelines, for example, in Africa, that was it. You remember, right? When Robert Habeck once said, we're going to build, I think, power plants in Algeria now. We in Germany are building power plants in Algeria so that we can be supplied with electricity, among other things, which, by the way, never happened. And I really have to say, the one who controls the pipelines in the future will also control oil and gas. And you can guess 3 times to whom was Nord Stream sold.
But the people out there don't see anything. They're good and only feel it in their wallets. And now they're also hassling these very citizens with fuel prices.
Only Germany and the European Union have completely lost control, especially over the ability to, let's say, lower fuel prices again. I said right at the beginning that what happened back there in Iran was good, right? I think that's advantageous. But now I have to admit that it was extremely bad for us. While some politicians here in Germany recognized it very early on, I have to say a bit later that, man, that was pretty much the dumbest thing we could have done. However, and I have to say this as well, the offer to once again purchase Russian gas and Russian oil is still there. We would just have to take it, which our politicians simply aren't doing. Our politicians want you to pay even more bills so that eventually you can't make ends meet anymore. And yes, to end up relying on the welfare system as well. Because if they didn't want that, they wouldn't be raising taxes and increasing health insurance contributions right now. Because the citizens are already at the absolute maximum of what they can possibly afford.
And that's eating people up inside. I don't understand those people. They just need to talk to the working folks out there on the street who has a 60-kilometer commute to work, who needs a car, who says, how am I supposed to pay for this anymore?
Hey, how about some pipeline security? How about if we actually went ahead and built pipelines to Africa, but from here, yes, so that other countries would also have to participate? How about we turn the gas tap back on first to cushion the worst? How about if we, for example, reclaimed or reduced the aid to Ukraine? All of that to help achieve stability? All of that while even the Americans are telling us that we should actually do it. What are we doing? We're doing exactly the opposite. We're promoting Mercosur. We're promoting our energy phase out, or rather our own energy demise. We've seen that again now in Rhineland-Palatinate, and we've also seen it in other states here. Guys, wake up out there. I won't get tired of preaching this to you. I hope you share this video with other people out there who still believe that this government really has good intentions and that this government could eventually solve this country's problems.